So there we go, our second home game of the season done. Still no home win, 0-0 with Liverpool, and a frustrating night at both ends of the pitch, to be honest. In the first half, we set up without Perma-Saka and Laurent Koscielny through illness and injury, and we really struggled. Callum Chambers and Gabriel Paulista obviously don't have the same kind of developed understanding that pair have, and Chambers looked nervous, looked intimidated by the physicality of Christian Benteke, the skill of Coutinho, and really struggled to gain a foothold in the game. And it was really only some miraculous saves from Petr Cech that kept us in the match. One in particular for Christian Benteke, I couldn't believe, looked for all the world as if it was a certain goal. He somehow kept the ball out, and another outstanding save to deny Coutinho a fingertip onto the post. All 6'5" of Cech being used to do that. One wondered if David Ospina would even have got there. And then half-time came, the defence settled somewhat. Chambers looked more assured, Paulista grew into the game, Benteke faded, and then our frustrations were at the other end of the pitch. Although we created chances, we couldn't seem to find that finishing touch. Decent opportunities for Alexis, for Giroud, came and went. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain came on, was a bright spark, but couldn't help us get over the line. And it's irritating because that's another 2 points gone. I know Liverpool are difficult opposition, but this is already a start of the season in which we've let 5 points slip away from the first 3 games. That's not what any of us wanted. It means we're already some way behind, if not Chelsea, then certainly Manchester City, who've started very strongly. And I think there's legitimate concerns about if we're efficient enough in the final third. You know, Petr Cech, who really came into his own in an Arsenal shirt, I thought, against Liverpool, said after the game we need to be more efficient. I think that's absolutely right. Is that something that's to do with sharpness? Is there a bit of ring rust there still in the players? I think only Alexis really has an excuse for that, given that he was involved in the Copa America. I think everyone else ought to be, at condition for the Premier League season. But seemingly there is something missing, be that in the chemistry, be that in the execution of the actual chances, be that in the personnel. There's a week left in the transfer window. Maybe Arsene Wenger does have to go and do something. And if he does, I think it's got to be a centre forward. And there'll be talk about, Karim Benzema's poo-pooed the idea that he would come to Arsenal, and let's talk about Cavani. But again, I think that feels far-fetched. I think Wenger needs to get back to what he did so well for so many years, which is identify someone with the potential to be an elite world-class centre-forward without necessarily being at that level yet. And that was his trademark. That was his stock in trade for so long. But we're now buying in a different market, and it feels like everybody expects a marquee level arrival without being necessarily sure who that might be. One has to hope the scouting team have identified other alternatives. But I think as much as it's easy to be frustrated with the attacking, it's worth pointing out that had we been more defensively solid, we probably would have, from kick-off, we probably would have exerted pressure on Liverpool goal for a longer period of time, and something may have paid dividends eventually. As it was, we basically had to start again at 45 minutes because the first half was quite so poor. And strange to see some nervousness in the team as well. Arsene Wenger talked about that after the West Ham game, a bit of nervousness. And again, in another home game, that was in evidence. So something's not quite right. One almost feels like the level of expectation on this team over the summer, all the hype about us being potential title challengers, seems to have actually had quite a negative impact. It's still early enough for everything to be sorted out, but certainly everything not quite right in terms of the balance and the setup of the team at present. Newcastle at the weekend. We'll see what happens, I guess. I don't expect any new arrivals by then. I don't expect any new arrivals full stop. So let's hope the current crop can click into action sooner rather than later.